Hey, mama. So, one thing that many business owners shy away from is understanding their numbers and tracking what's working and not working in their business. Trust me, I get it. It can be really overwhelming, but the reality is that if you want to build a profitable business that is sustainable, you have to know your numbers. And so in today's episode, I chat with Sierra Scacco all about knowing what your income producing activities are and understanding your key performance indicators. And this is so important as a mom in business. And one of the things I love that Sierra does in this interview is that she simplifies both of these things and she provides some practical tips for getting started with knowing and understanding the data in your business. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Hey, mama. Are you tired of feeling stressed and overwhelmed trying to grow your online business with your babies at home? You desire more flexibility in your day, allowing you to pour into your family, yourself, and your business without running yourself into the ground. Mama, you can build your dream business and do it in a way that fits your current season of life. And I'm going to show you exactly how. Welcome to the Mama Turned Mompreneur podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Singletary, daughter of the king, wife, mama of two, and life and business coach for mompreneurs. On this podcast, you will learn business strategies made for mamas just like you, who desire to be successful CEOs and fully present mamas without stress or overwhelm. So whether you're an entrepreneur who transitioned to a mompreneur or a mama turned mompreneur, I am here to support you. So grab your coffee, notebook, and pen, put in those earbuds, and let's dig in. All right, today on the Mama Turned Mompreneur podcast, I am sitting down to chat with Sierra Scacco, and we are going to be talking all about KPIs and IPAs. Now, if you are like, what in the world are you talking about, Andrea? Don't worry, Sierra is going to break it down for us. But before we get into that, Sierra, welcome to the show. Please tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do, and all about your family.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here. So yes, my name is Sierra. I am a business productivity coach that really helps online entrepreneurs, especially moms, get more done in less time. So I am a mom myself. I have two little boys, a 2.5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they are home with me round the clock all the time. And they are the inspiration for my business. They're why I do what I do. And I really got started because I wanted to be home with him. And so I had to figure out not just, running a business, but how am I going to do this as a new mom to a 6-month-old baby who still, was very needy. And that's really where I started to grow. I started out as a copywriter and very quickly shifted into the coaching space because I realized, the things that I was doing to make this work as a mom and a business owner, like being able to mesh the two. These are things that so many other people are trying to do. And it's something that it could be a reason why they give up. And I don't want people to be giving up on their businesses because it's hard to manage both. So that's really where that's how I got to where I am today.
I love that and resonate so much. Similar stories, and I can relate to the 2 under 2 life. It's definitely an adventure, and you're doing it with 2 boys. So kudos to you.
Yes, yeah, it's a lot of chaos, but it's fun, and they're going to be best friends, and that's what I'm excited for.
Yes, you'll definitely see that. Now that my kids are 3 and 1, well, soon to be 2 and 4. They just have the closest bond, but it also means that they get into a lot of trouble together. My youngest, my daughter, is the instigator too. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so get ready for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so many of us may have not heard of what KPIs are and IPAs, or we may have heard it, but it probably went in one ear and out the other. So please break it down for us, what they are and what is the difference between the two.
Yeah, yeah. So KPIs and IPAs sound really scary, like a scary business acronym, but they are actually a lot simpler than they seem. So, first of all, KPIs are your key performance indicators. These are essentially the metrics that you can use to track your success in your business. So, you can use your KPIs to take a goal that you have and then reverse engineer step by step exactly what you need to do to reach that goal. Now, IPAs, on the other hand, are your income producing activities. So they go right in line with your KPIs. However, these are going to more specifically be the activities that you do, usually on a daily basis or a weekly basis, that are moving your business forward. So your IPAs might be, like there's some like general ones that most people have, like lead gen or posting content or um like just the thing like serving clients, the things that are going to directly result in more money in your pocket. And your KPIs then can reflect that. They'll tell you what your IPAs should be based on what goal you want to reach. So if your goal is to sign 5 clients this next month, then you can reverse engineer that goal, figure out how many sales calls you need to get on, how many conversations you need to have in the DMs, how many freebie downloads you need to have, like all of those different metrics. And based on those metrics, you now know, okay, my income producing activities, the things that are going to put money in my pocket, that are going to help me sign those clients, are going to be spending time in the DMs. They're going to be posting content on my social media, showing up on my podcast, creating blog posts, like whatever it is that you see the most conversion, the highest conversion rate from, that'll be where your focus is. And it just really allows you to stay more focused. So I hope that kind of makes sense. There's a lot that goes into those two.
No, it makes perfect sense. So, from like, based on what you said, basically a lot of it is stuff that we're already doing. But when you look at it from the perspective of setting goals, you're more intentional about it. You have a clear plan. You know exactly, okay, today I need to be doing this, tomorrow I need to be doing that. And so I think that it's so important to discuss that because I know a lot of times when we first get in the online space, we're just jumping right in and we're just like basically throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And so when you focus on your KPIs and your IPAs and you're very intentional about it, it moves you away from that. So that way you have a clear plan and you know exactly what you need to be doing daily in your business to hit those goals. So you explained it perfectly.
Yes, no, that's exactly. I use that phrase all the time. Like, we don't want to be throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. We want to move with purpose. So, yes, I love that.
Yes. So, understanding our KPIs, how is that really going to help us scale our business?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, your KPIs are going to start with a goal. So, maybe that goal is a client related goal. Maybe it's a certain amount of podcast downloads. Maybe it's a like you want to host a retreat. And so how are we going to reach that goal? So when you want to scale your business, the very first thing you need to be aware of is the end goal that you want to reach. So when you have that in mind, now you can reverse engineer that goal, right? So like I mentioned with the clients, that you can figure out, how many people you need to talk to, how many sales calls you need to get on. Maybe if you wanted to do a retreat, then you need to know step by step, making a plan, a timeline of when things need to be reached and how they need to be reached. So that way you can stay on track. So your KPIs for, like, let's say you were hosting a retreat, maybe you're going to have to figure out like where you're going to host it, if you're going to have guest experts, how you're going to promote it, what the cost is going to be, how you're going to like if you'll give like your current clients a discount, like different aspects that you'll have to figure out. And I'm not a retreat expert in any sense, but there's a lot of different things. And if you just set out, you're a visionary and you're like, okay, like I want to host a retreat, and you don't figure out that step-by-step process, then it's just going to keep staying in the distance. Like, it's not that you can't achieve that goal, but it's going to be really hard to make active progress towards that goal because you're not going to be sure when to be taking what steps. And you might have if your goal is to host a retreat by, the end of the year, but you don't set out to create those KPIs, to start tracking those metrics, to start mapping out this goal, then you don't have a timeline really. Like you think, oh, like I can host it by the end of the year. And that will lead to a big struggle that I see, which is procrastination. Like we all struggle with that a little bit, where we have this idea, but we're like, no, like I can do it later. I can wait on it. It doesn't have to happen right now. And if we aren't aware of, okay, like I know that I need to do X, Y, and Z in order to sign the 5 clients, in order to fund the retreat, in order to market the retreat, like then you know it's going to take you a certain amount of time. So it really makes your timeline clear, as well as, like we were talking before, being a lot more purposeful on the step by step. A lot of people are visionaries. They love the big picture. They want to, like, they go into business because of a specific why, like to be home with their kids, or to be able to retire their husbands, or like whatever their big goal is, they go into business with that in mind. And a lot of people struggle because they aren't tracking those metrics along the way to make sure that that goal actually becomes a reality.
I love that. Yeah, it's something I support my clients with. So being of one client in particular, when she came to me, she wanted to launch a group program. And so there were a lot of steps that we had to map out first before we actually get to launching the program and everything. And so a big part of that is like, you have to generate leads. You have to, attract those right fit people so that way you actually have someone to sell to, right? And so really just like you're saying, like breaking it down, because you really do have to consider all of those steps. If not, like you said, you're not going to hit that goal. You may get started, you may execute, but then you don't get anyone to sign up because you didn't, take the time to really look at all of the steps involved that's going to ultimately get you, the goal that you're trying to achieve, hit those results and everything. So I love how you broke that down, because it's so true. Like anything we do in our businesses, we have to really like break it down step by step. And like you said, starting with the end in mind too. I think a lot of times people don't think about that. They're just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to throw this thing out there. And then they're discouraged because it doesn't go the way that they want it to go. But it's like, well, take a step back and really look at the full process. What is everything that you actually need to do? And if you don't know what that is, that's why there are amazing coaches like me and Sierra that can support you with that.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing. Like a lot of people see business as like just business strategy, right? And business strategy is so important. Like you have to know how to sign the clients and how to market yourself correctly. But if you aren't able to then take those strategies that you're learning and apply it in a way that makes sense for your business and your life, that's where so many people get stuck, right?
Yep, exactly. So let's talk a little bit more about income producing activities. So how does understanding, IPAs save you time as a busy mompreneur?
Yeah. So your IPAs, like we talked about before, instead of throwing spaghetti at the wall, you are going to know exactly what you should be doing every single day to hit whatever goal you're trying to reach. So instead of like, one of the struggles I see a lot is we get on Instagram or we get on Facebook or we get like, we just start listening to all the voices around us that like, oh, I tried this method and it worked really well. Or I started a blog and I saw this much increase, or my email list is what got me to 100K months or whatever it is. And we start to turn that in our head. We're like, okay, like maybe I need to start my email list. I need to start a blog. I need to start a YouTube channel and a podcast and like all the things all at once. And all of these things are great ways to grow and scale a business, but they might not be what you need in this season of life that you're in order to reach the goal that you want to reach. And so your IPAs really hone in and allow you to build your business with purpose, recognizing that not every method out there needs to be done by you right at this second. It could be a goal you have like later in the future, or a method you could try if what you're currently doing doesn't work out. But once you have that strategy, like we talked about, you know what's working and you're trying to reach a specific goal, unless that specific goal requires you to add on something extra, you should really be focusing on those key components that are going to, they're going to be the things that you do every single day. Like I mentioned, things like lead gen, content creation, um, maybe collaborations would be a good one as well, or any type of activity that is actually driving you towards your goal. And if you have extra time, then great. Like add on something fun or add on an extra method. Like there's no harm in getting onto multiple social media platforms or trying multiple areas, but we need to be very aware of our time, especially as moms, and it's limited. We don't have 8 hours a day to, knock out all these different methods and reach all the people and do all the things. We need to hone in on those specific activities that are going to move our business forward and get rid of the fluff. And that's what really understanding those IPAs is all about.
I love that. And it's so true. We can get so easily distracted, especially with social media. It's just so much information thrown at you, but really figuring out what makes sense for you based on your current season of life. So for instance, with me, I support my clients with life and business coaching, but I also have like background in the podcast industry. And so a lot of my clients come to me for that as well, with getting support with launching their podcast. And I've told clients, you know what, we're going to wait on the podcast because right now, what you're telling me with your current season of life, it does not make sense for you to add it. And, they do get a like, oh, well, but then it's like, okay, let's look at what would make sense for you right now. So like for one client in particular, we've set a future podcast launch date for her, but right now we're focusing on email marketing and she's really immersing herself in that and it's working amazingly for her. It makes sense for her current season of life. And so I think that's like a really big thing that as moms, we have to understand we don't have the capacity to do all of the things. We have kids at home. And so, yes, we may see so and so over there doing all these different things, but most likely they don't have kids or their kids are a lot older. And so we can't do what they're doing. But knowing that this season of life won't be this way forever, eventually you'll be able to add in those things. But really like being intentional and looking at what do I have the capacity to commit to right now? What is the two things that I can focus on that's really going to help move the needle forward in my business and being okay with that. So I love that you said that because it's so true. We see all of the things going on and thinking, oh, I should do this. Oh, I should do that. And I'm speaking from personal experience because that was me early last year, literally being on every single platform, trying to do all of the things. And it did nothing for me, but led to burnout. So don't be that person.
Exactly. Yeah. We want
Yeah.
to avoid burnout at all costs. And I feel like that's such a valuable trait that you have as a coach to like be able to tell your client that like this is not this is not the time. Like not that it's never gonna happen or that it won't happen. Like you said, you have a plan in the future. But just like coach to coach, like that's super scary to be like, hey, like you're a great person, but you're not going to do the podcast right now. You're not going to make the move right now because we don't want to like let our clients down. But it is so important to like recognize like sometimes we as individuals, we get so caught up in like the momentum and the excitement and we don't take a second to realize like, okay, this might be a little too much on my plate right now. And sometimes we need that like outside perspective or taking like a step back and taking a bird's eye view of our own businesses in order to not burn ourselves out.
Yes, yes, it's so true. Okay, so we've been talking all about, what KPIs and IPAs are and, different aspects of both. But how can we figure out like what should our personal ones be? Like what should it look like in our business? And I know we just touched on, the income producing activities. So we can focus more on KPIs, like what should we actually be focusing on, when it applies directly to our own businesses?
Yeah, yeah. So yes, the IPAs are a lot more simple. So those are, like you said, we talked about, it's just figuring out what really works for you and your business. The KPIs, this one takes a little bit more math and it's a little bit intimidating to people to figure out, but I promise like it is so worth it. And I know for me, like I am not a math person, but I am a fact person. And so being able to sit there and like, once I was able to figure out how to calculate my KPIs, I love being able to like every quarter or as I'm doing like my monthly review, sit down and say, okay, like I now know exactly what I need to do next month. Cause it literally just spits those out to you. It tells you what you need. So figuring out your personal KPIs. Like I said, first you need to choose a goal. Typically this goal, if you want to calculate it like mathematically and get like hard numbers, it needs to be something that has a numerical value. So a certain amount of clients or a certain income goal that you have or a certain amount of podcast downloads, like a number that you want to reach. Then you now need to reverse engineer that step by step. Okay, in order to reach this goal, how do I need to, or what do I need to do first? And typically when you're calculating KPIs, you have a little bit of background data. So for example, if it's signing, like you have a goal of signing 5 clients, you've already signed, 1 or 2 clients. So you can go back and look at the data that got you to those 2 clients in order to sign the 5. So you then look, okay, and when I signed my like 1 client last month, it took me 6 sales calls. It took me 20 conversations in the DMs. It took me 100 people to reach out to. And you can calculate that data. You figure out what is my conversion rate from reaching out to someone to signing them as a client. And if that number's really low, then you'll know, okay, like where in the funnel do I need to make that a better, like a higher conversion. So for example, if you reach out to like 1,000 people, but only 100 people are like actually responding to your messages, there's something in that area of reaching out to people that isn't working. Maybe you need to improve the message that you're sending to people to get them to respond to you. Or maybe you need to make sure that you're reaching out to actual ideal clients and not just anyone who is on Instagram. And so once you figure out exactly how many people it takes or what your numbers are to reach that 1 or what it takes to hit, I guess like in the sense of like podcast downloads or freebie downloads, it might be a little bit bigger because you're going to be figuring out like what did I do to get like 100 podcast downloads? What did I do to get, 30 freebie downloads? And then you can now multiply that. So if it took me 10 sales calls to sign 2 clients and I want to sign 5 clients next month, then I now know, let me do a little bit of math, that I need 5 to 1. So I think that's 25. That's not right. Anyways, I told you I'm not a math person.
We'll go with it.
But then you can calculate exactly how many sales calls you need to get on to sign those 5 clients. And like I said, it seems a little bit confusing. And I know like me just speaking it isn't a lot of help, but if you want to get started tracking your personal KPIs, first start tracking numbers, right? Get a spreadsheet. Start tracking how many people you talk to. Start tracking how many podcast episodes you put out, how many emails you send out. Like whatever your goal is, start tracking the numbers. And then in 2 weeks, you'll have a good amount of data to start creating those KPIs from. And you can figure out, if I want to reach my goal of 5 people or clients signed, I now know exactly how many people to talk to, how many sales calls to get on, how many people need to subscribe to my email list or download my freebie, whatever it is. The tricky thing is that these are going to be personal to you. Like I can't tell you exactly what your numbers are going to be because your business is unique. How you interact with clients is unique. The different methods that you're using are unique. And so sitting down with yourself, taking a CEO day, and mapping that client journey out will allow you to figure out exactly what numbers you need to see in order to hit the goal that you want. Does that kind of make sense? I know it's a lot.
Yes, no, that makes perfect sense. I love that you brought up the spreadsheet because that will really help you just to see visually. And then I have a lead tracker that I'll make sure to link for you guys where even if you just want to look at like the number of leads and you're, following up, it really breaks that down so you can keep track of that because that's one of the things I see a lot with clients. They don't follow up with leads. And so if you really want to get serious about this, so that way you can know what steps it actually takes to hit your monthly income goals, you have to put in the work. It sounds like a lot, but as a CEO of your business, you have to do it, or you hire someone to help you do it, but
Exactly.
you have to do it if you want to start hitting those income goals. So I know that it was a lot of information, and I highly recommend, coming back and especially listening to this part so that way you get a better understanding of how to create, KPIs for yourself and track them and everything. But I promise you, if you do this, take the time to do it and really learn it, you will start hitting those income goals you desire to hit. So I would love to hear, like, you could share a personal example or an example of a client who, experienced major wins in their businesses by understanding their KPIs and IPAs. We've been talking all about it, but I think sometimes hearing other people's wins will be a better motivator to actually take action on this part of being a business owner.
Yeah, no, this is a great question. Okay. I am currently working with a client who is prepping for maternity leave. And with that, like this is her first kiddo. And with that comes a lot because you are planning to, take some time away from your business. And one thing, like she is a very driven person and she already has like her goals set out for the whole year. She knows what she wants to accomplish. But as we were sitting there talking about her maternity leave and what that's going to look like when she comes back, we realized that the goal that she had set of, I think it was signing 10 clients in quarter two, where she was going to be on maternity leave for 1 month of quarter two and another month of like very limited just client work. So that means she was going to be signing those 10 clients in 1 month. And we talked about, how many calls she was going to have to get on and how many people she was going to have to talk to. And it ended up where she was planning on coming back to like a 20-hour work week or less. She was going to have to be working like double that in order to reach this goal. And that is the power of like understanding your KPIs because we were able to realize, okay, this goal, not that it's not doable, but it's not doable in that timeline that you have set. So what do we need to do? And we were able to figure out, okay, we need to hire a VA to have some support. That way someone's working in the background while she's on maternity leave. They can be, reaching out to clients or nurturing people. She's also running ads. So, and that will, bring in those leads. So then when she gets back from maternity leave, she has people already ready to go. They're going to be warm and she won't have to waste any time warming up an audience because she'll be able to start bringing those people onto calls and then also shifting where she would be getting on like dozens of calls in order to sign the 10 clients. We've figured out a way for her to shorten that by different means of selling. So maybe that's selling in the DMs. Maybe that's hosting a masterclass. Or the other idea that we are going to try is, like doing basically like group strategy calls where she can like get in front of a bunch of people at once. So it's really about, you can have a goal. And like we talked about, you can be a visionary. You have that big goal. And now you need to reverse engineer those steps. If there's a hole, figure out how to fill it. And it's absolutely doable. Like I am a big believer in like whatever goal you have set, we'll make it work. You just have to be willing to maybe rethink. It might not work out exactly as you thought it would. We just got to like tweak our thinking on it and make it happen in a different way.
I love that. And I know who you're talking about. um, but I love that. And I've been able to kind of follow because she shares a lot of behind the scenes on her Instagram. And so I've been able to kind of see like what she's been doing and like basically putting those pieces in place and everything. And so it's nice to kind of see it all laid out, but knowing that behind the scenes, you're supporting her with mapping all of that out and everything. And it makes a world of a difference, especially like going into maternity leave and everything. It could be a lot, especially this is her first baby and everything. And so it's just amazing to kind of see all of that unfold.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really exciting and it's in the works right now, but I have full faith that it's going to work out exactly as
Oh
she hopes it
yeah,
will.
knowing her, it's going to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, so as we wrap up our conversation, one question I like to ask all of the moms who come on the podcast is, what is your number one mompreneur hack?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. My number one mompreneur hack, I think that would be, so when I like to include my kids in as much as I can. And this, like, it's really hard because like they're little and they can't always like, they don't understand what I'm doing when I'm working. So what
Yeah.
I try to do is like, I include them. I have like, my son has a little like, it's not like a workbook, but it's like a little
Mhm.
like play tablet book thingy. And he gets to use that when I am working on my business. Like it's like, okay, mom is working. Now Matthew is working. Or my baby who like does not like obviously like isn't quite able to like understand that stuff. I will literally, I mean, he's napping right now, but most of the times, like I will have him like on my hip bouncing while I'm working. So I've learned that when I try to include them in my business, even in like little ways, it's not all the time. Like they absolutely have like TV time and like time away where I can get work done. But if I include them in the little things or when they're like overwhelmed or when they're, they're being crazy, it makes my life a lot easier because I don't have to worry that they're going to go destroy something. And then they're not crying and whining because they want mom because I'm right here and I'm doing it with them.
I love that. Yeah, my son has his little leapfrog laptop that he
Yeah.
likes to pull out. It's the cutest thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so much fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sierra, just for educating us on KPIs and IPAs. This was such a good conversation. So please share with my audience where they can connect with you and learn more about your services.
Yeah. So I am on Instagram 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Like just come connect with me on there. I share lots of tips on there. And I also have my freebie in there, which is Skill to Success. So that is my 4 tips to sign more clients while working less than 20 hours a week, which I know as a mom is pretty much your norm. So that's there for you as well.
All right. I will make sure to link all of that in the show notes. Well, thank you again for just sharing your wisdom with us and being such an amazing guest.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
No problem.
Well, Mama, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to hang with me. If you enjoyed today's episode, will you do me a favor and follow the podcast and leave a review? Hitting that follow button and sharing your thoughts about the podcast are the best ways to ensure that other mamas like you find this show. Your review also lets me know if you're enjoying this podcast, so make sure to share your thoughts before you go. All right, Mama, I'll catch you in the next episode.